I was about 5 years old and my parents had just separated. My mom was living in a 2-bedroom apartment. I had my own room, but I preferred to sleep in her bed whenever I was staying with her. Our 2 bedrooms were at the end of a hallway, directly across from each other. Our apartment was on the first floor, and I remember that it was in the middle of the summer and my mom had a window open her room, which was directly behind the bed above the headboard. Anyways, I woke up in the middle of the night and remember sitting up and seeing that our cat was sitting in the door frame of my mom's room. Her door was open and you could partially see into my bedroom. This was strange because our cat was typically always in bed with us. As I was watching him, he walked into my bedroom and meowed. I turned to face my mom and wake her up. In the 3 for seconds it took her to wake up and ask me what was wrong. We both looked back up in the door frame and there was a man standing by my open door, making his way out of my bedroom. I still don't know how she managed to do it so quickly, but my mother proceeded to pick me up and literally throw me out of the screen window. Again, we were on the first floor and it was a 3-foot drop. She quickly followed and we were able to start screaming for help and someone called 911. The police came but didn't see any signs of forced entry, only that our front door was unlocked, which led them to believe the man must have exited that way. The strange thing was that my mom swore up and down that she had locked the door that night with the deadbolt and chain lock. About a week later she was cleaning the kitchen and opened up our water heater closet and found a notebook with names and drawings, as well as a pair of gloves and some gum wrappers. The police were called again, but all they could do was speculate that the man had been in our house and hid until we were asleep. I moved to my dad's when I was 10 and didn't know anyone in the area, except for the family my dad was friends with. Single mom with 3 kids. Luckily, there was a girl a couple of years older than me, 12 at the time I met her, and we got to know each other a little over a couple of years. We weren't close, but ended up having the same friends. One night my friend Rob was hanging out with her and her younger brother. They happened to be in the house alone because my friend's mom was at work, which is where this gets terrifying and sad. Her mother has been helping this one lady through her work and got to know her fairly well. She found out her sister was in a mental institution and was let out recently. The night Rob is hanging out with my friend, they get a knock on the door. My friend thought it was just their mom. She knocks a certain way when coming in and answered it without thinking. Rob wasn't supposed to be there and he took off through the window to his house down the road. He never thought twice about it. Wasn't her mom. It was the sister of the lady her mom was helping, and she figured out through talking to her sister where her family lived and her mom's working schedule. She came in, and this is where I don't know details, and I'm glad I don't. My friend's younger brother got away to the neighbors to call the police. The lady brutally murdered my friend a week from Christmas, decapitated her and left her body naked in a bathtub, hid her head. They had to look through the presents and I don't know where they found it, but they did. I wasn't allowed to go to her funeral. There was a park somewhat deep in a heavily wooded forest up in the Sierra Nevada mountains where I grew up. This is on the outskirts of a small town of 5,000 people. The park was crazy dark at night because the trees blocked the night sky completely and 0 electric lights in the park. I took a girl there one night to go swing on these massive swings at the far side of the park. We parked the car at the long perimeter fence at the one opening in the chain to get in. We felt our way past the trees and stumbled on the uneven grass. There were lots of old growth roots to trip on, and it was pretty hilarious to try and find the swings with our single tiny flip foam light. We finally found them, and had been swinging as high as we could and laughing in the dark when all of a sudden we heard the voice of a man in the distance behind us. Deep in the brush, he was yelling something. We immediately went silent, still swinging fast back and forth to hide, to jump, and to startle, to try and kick the ground to make too much noise and draw attention. The sound of the man thrashing toward us in the brush in the distance got closer and close in just a few moments when we finally realized what he was yelling. "I'll fucking kill you." You know when someone says something and you know that they mean it? Like on an instinctive level? We both knew he meant it. So, without saying anything, we both bailed out of the swings. In the dark, hit the ground hard and knocked the wind out of us. We grabbed hands and ran in the dark in a random direction, tripping, hitting trees, etc. All the while the man was still violently yelling and coming our way behind us in the dark. Before we knew it, we ran face first into the chain fence at the edge of the park and began to quickly feel along it to the right for a time until we found the opening in the fence. Jumping in the car, turning the key, the headlights flipped on automatically just in time to reveal a furious, wild-eyed man run full speed through the fence and literally slam his hands on the hood of the car, screaming. Already in reverse, we hit the gas and sped backward up the country road, leaving the man standing there losing his mind. I've never been afraid of the dark. Grew up in the countryside, where the nearest streetlight was 10 miles away, so I'm comfortable in dark places. So much so that I often take my dog for a walk at around midnight just because I like the peace and quiet of the night. I live in a city now, so something about the dark is just soothing to me. That being said, one of the scariest things I've ever experienced, I genuinely have no explanation for. Living in a city, I used to drive out 20 to 30 miles into the country to do some astrophotography. As I am driving out one night, I see this guy walking at the side of the road with no lights, reflectors, and a big backpack. Didn't think much of it other than it being a little odd. 5 miles later, I see the same guy walking again. I haven't changed directions, turned, and I've been doing 50 miles per hour. As I drove past, he looked and waved at me. I was pretty spooked, but I drove on. I must be imagining things. It can't be the same guy. I get to my field in the middle of nowhere, park up and get the camera out and turn off all the lights so my eyes adjust to the dark. All is going well, and for 30 minutes I'm content and starting to relax. Suddenly I hear rustling near the hedge by the road, crunching leaves, grass being kicked. It was footsteps. I immediately get a feeling of dread, like I'm in severe danger and something bad was going to happen. I grab my camera, toss it in the car, get in, lock the doors and turn on the headlights. When I turn out of the field, I pass where I heard the noise and saw fresh footprints in the mud, but no sign of anyone. I race back home, driving double the speed limit, constantly checking my mirrors for anyone. I park up around the corner and wait in the car with the lights off for 30 minutes, watching. Nothing shows up. I get home, lock all the doors, and sleep with a knife under my pillow that night. I honestly don't know what really happened that night, but part of me knows that creepy guy passed on the road twice was in that field.